What's up, everyone? Happy Aloha Friday. Skyler here, as always, with my really good buddy, Mr. Chad Voisin. And what's up, buddy? And today, I'm really excited. We have a friend, special guest, insurance guru, Mr. Jose Ormeno. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? Nice to see you guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, brother.
Yeah, it's one of those days where it's like things just kind of came together and it's beautiful outside, and I don't know, it's just like one of those nice days that you start off a weekend, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just wish we got some waves.
That's
that
true.
would make it perfect.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. Yeah, I'm up in Oceanside right now, and I looked at the cam this morning and it looked like there's a few on the north side of the pier, but
weekend is almost here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah. So I'm excited, dude. Like today, as we just kind of introduced, you're a insurance, property casualty, life insurance, like all lines of insurance, basically. And I thought it'd be really valuable today to kind of get your input on things that relate to real estate, because, you know, being in real estate that Chad is in and helping people with buying and selling homes and investment properties and everything else, I thought it'd be a really good idea for us to kind of bring some topics up that a lot of people either don't know about or kind of would be interested to learn about if they knew that it was something that was out there. So, yeah. So I think the first thing is, you know, people talk about homeowners policy versus an umbrella policy, and what's kind of the difference between the two. Can you kind of speak to that?
Sure. So your typical homeowners insurance policy, it's a package, and it has different components. One of them is, of course, protecting your home, meaning if something happens to the house, the policy will pay to, you know, fix whatever has broken, or in a really worst case scenario, rebuild the house to where it was, right? Then you have also the component of your personal belongings, so you want to protect that. And then there's another component about liability, that is your responsibility to third parties. The liability is the one that is really linked to the umbrella policy. What is the liability covering? It's covering, for example, I'm just going to use an example. Your dog. You have a dog. The dog bites somebody. You get sued, and then you are responsible for the damages of that person, medical bills, attorney fees, and all that. You do a party in your house, and somebody after the party got an accident and blames you for just letting them go with too many drinks. So all those things that you
That'd
might
be Chad.
About, right?
That's happened at Skyler's house before.
Not at all.
A pool is another one, right? You got minors in a pool, something happens, an accident. So the basic limits on on your policy, usually brokers are putting you about $300,000 as an aggregated benefit. Okay, but if you have investment properties, you are a career professional, attorneys will try to figure it out a way to sneak the, way far and beyond those limits that you have in your policy, and then you are personally responsible to pay for those claims. So the umbrella policy basically sits on top of your home, auto, and if you have a boat or any other vehicle that is for just recreation purposes, you put $500,000 on limits on these ones, and then from there the umbrella takes it to $1 million. So you got a peace of mind that all your assets, no matter if you have an accident and you're facing a really uncomfortable situation, that you're going to have enough money to settle that case. This money will also provide the attorney fees and all the expenses. So that's basically the purpose of the umbrella, is to sit down on top of what you already have and bump up that coverage from 500 grand to 1 million, 2 million, depending on your needs.
Got it. Okay. So auto, it sounded as though auto insurance was covered in there, or auto liability, right?
Yes.
Auto liability, and really almost all liability, I guess to say.
Yeah, but it's like I said, you need to have an underlying of 500 grand in your policies, and then from there the policy will take it to a higher limit.
I see.
So sometimes when people start inquiring about it, the limits that they have are 300,000. Well, first we need to pump it out to 500,000 on all the underlying coverage for auto and home, and then we add the other one. The umbrella policy, when we talk about cost, is not that much money. It's actually cheaper to add an umbrella policy than to ask your policies, that underlying policies, to have a really high limit. Yeah, that's the advantage of that. You know, you have an extra layer of protection for all your assets in regards of liability purposes.
Hey, what are some common issues that homeowners specifically run into? They close escrow on their first house, for example, 3 months goes down the road, or something happens. Is it the ability of the insurance company to actually cover specific things, or what are the most common, I guess, disputes or issues that homeowners run into with insurance companies?
Well, that's a really complex question, but I'm going to try to kind of narrow it down. When you're dealing with a transaction, you as a realtor, you're representing the buyer or the seller, right? In the event that he's a buyer, there's going to be an inspection, all these different things that are going to come up in the transaction that, they need to remove contingencies and all that. And at the end of the process, right before you're going to close the transaction, is when the insurance comes in. So the lender, the bank, won't release a dollar amount, any money, until the insurance is in place and all the package is complete. Once the property is closed in escrow and they turn the keys to the new owner, well, you can have a claim the next day and it will be covered. Well, it will cover if it's actually that is something that the policy itself covers, right? The most common claims that I see are usually water related. Those are water is pretty intrusive,
right?
So once you have a leak, if you have wood floors, man, you got to replace the whole thing. Drywall, mold restoration. It can add up significantly. We were talking to Skyler previously about these heavy rains that we had maybe 4 months ago, and it was in a really short period of time. It rained like 4 days like crazy.
Right.
Well, that Friday, I had maybe 5 claims of water, roof leaks in the majority. So those are 2 of the claims that I see most often. But in regards of having a policy and when the policy will be in place and active, it will be right away. As soon as you close the transaction, the policy is enforced. You can have the policy, respond to that claim.
So I actually have a follow-up question to that, Jose, because I had an issue with water damage, but it came from outside.
Yes.
It was more of a I guess you could call it a flood. Like it water just ended up getting so close to the back door of the house that it ended up being where the like the stucco and the drywall and everything like up against the house were, soaked for a while. So we had to get someone in there to basically like big fans to just, dry everything out. And I think clarifying for me, like what the difference is between the water damage that is covered versus water damage that isn't covered.
And that is a really good question. So water damage coverage, or the most easy example is with something that happens inside your house. A pipe burst or something inside related to your own, inside the walls of your house. When the water is coming from the outside, that's when you have some gray lines in regards of what's covered and what's not covered. The insurance, the basic homeowners insurance policy, it's not meant to cover flood from outside. For that, you will have to get an additional coverage. There are specific areas in San Diego where the bank itself, the lender, will require you to get flood insurance. Areas that come to mind, Oceanside by the 76, it's pretty low, sea level wise, and there is
the estuary right there. Yeah.
Plain.
So what else? National City. There's some portions here in San Marcos too. There's another area where I see the requirements for flood insurance. So it all depends. But even if they don't cover the intrusion of the water into your house, they will cover the fixing of the inside of the house. So I just got a case in Poway where the water make it through the tile, and the insurance company says that there was something wrong with the underlying stuff that they put underneath the tile, and they didn't want to replace the roof because I say that's your responsibility, homeowner maintenance, but we're going to cover everything that was damaged inside. So they did replace the drywalls, dry everything, but they didn't help fix the roof. So you're right. Depending on the cause of the water damage, you might find that some things are covered and some things are not. If the damage, it was originated inside the house by inside, a pipe or something, is covered. But when the water is coming from the outside, that's when you're going to see that kind of discrepancies about what are they going to cover or if it's covered.
So what would you recommend then for people who, obviously, like around here, that was like the 100-year rain that comes every century or something, like that was crazy. Like in Encinitas, it rained there's like 4.5 or 4 3/4 inches of rain within 24 hours. And there was flooding everywhere. And I'm sure both of you can attest to that because that was just nuts. But when it comes to like those sort of situations, what do you recommend people do or at least like look to in order to make sure that they were, covered, or if there was any issues, like how to replace everything?
Yeah, it is a tricky situation because it all comes to prevention, right? And regarding a roof, unless you go into your attic and check after every single rain or every heavy rain, if there's water leaking or there's some intrusion of water, you won't realize that until the whole thing is just, falling apart. So it's just keeping the house in good shape is one of the biggest, recommendation that you can have is just take a look at your house, take a look at, if there's any water coming in, and as soon as you detect something, move forward to fix it up. Don't wait to make it a bigger issue. I want to touch base about that too, because the premise of the insurance companies is for you to mitigate the issue as soon as possible.
Right.
So if there's something going on, don't wait 2 days to call the insurance company, or don't even call the insurance company thinking that they're going to come right away. You can call a plumber, a roofer, whatever, to help fix that right away and then deal with the claim. They will pay if the charges are, fair and normal. That's the other thing too that you got to watch out is if you got a really large bill and insurance companies will dispute that, and then you are caught in between the fence and like, oh, who's going to pay for this?
Right. Yeah, that's another point that I wanted to make too, is that the job of the insurance company is to basically like indemnify or get you to a point where you were before.
Correct.
Not to pay extra for something that you want, it's essentially like they're there to help replace what you've lost.
Correct.
And so you pay for the insurance to make sure that if something were to happen, you could cover the replacement of the cost of whatever it is that you lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people too, like they mistake that, or they have this idea that insurance companies are out there and they're like, making tons of money and they're there to like nickel and dime us and everything else. But I think at the end of the day, like they're legitimately there to help replace whatever it is that, you lost. And it's just interesting to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you actually nailed the concept of insurance. It's not to put you far and above where you were, it's to put you where you were. It's recover what you have. And of course, with that, you sometimes end up on the upper side in the sense that if they replace something, now you have all that is brand new. So it's not like it was before, but it got you to where you were, where you can live in the house, you can operate whatever it is, the pipes, the water is running, everything is back to normal. But yeah, that is a misconception sometimes, that you're going to end up better than what you were with insurance paying you, a big claim. And sometimes it happens, but that's not really the intention of insurance, is to just get you back to where you were.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
I have a random question that I was thinking of, because we're coming to the end of summer, which means we're coming into fire season. And I think a lot of well, number one, the search for houses in rural areas has gone way up because people want to get out of town with COVID-19, and people are actually looking into getting out of the urban areas and going more to the countryside into rural areas. And I know firsthand, based on a couple properties I sold, one being out in Escondido, it was beginning to be a lot harder to get fire coverage in the rural areas. Are you guys, from your end, are you seeing it, more loopholes to jump through to get somebody's policy to cover fire insurance, especially here in Southern California? Because I think that's a big issue. And a lot of people, even people probably listening, have experienced fire of some sort, whether it's them or their family,
Chad, in the last 2 years, the landscape of insurance regarding fire has changed drastically.
Right.
With the amount of fires that we have in the last few years and the amount of losses that insurance companies have been facing due to these fires, especially in Central and Northern California, some of them are saying, I want to limit my exposure. We're losing money. I need to make sure that I'm not going to be end up losing more. So it started a couple of years ago with some carriers not renewing policies. They were telling you, you know what? I'm not going to offer you a renewal. I'm walking away from that area. And in the last year, it's been even harder when nobody wants the business. And you're right. Especially now, people are looking for bigger homes, more open area where you can enjoy outdoors, Fallbrook, Escondido. But the insurance for fire is not just an issue in those areas. It's coming closer to us. Carlsbad, San Marcos, any property that is close to a canyon or facing open land is flagged as brush fire exposure, and they won't issue a policy.
Wow.
That is the landscape right now, but there are options. So me being a broker, I have access to so many different carriers. Right. And I kind of make the analogy, they are like people, they like different flavors, right? Right. So not all carriers are looking for the same risk. Some are willing to take more, some are willing to limit their exposure. So I still
you think it's more beneficial to go to a broker like you, obviously, because you have the option of giving people all these different sections of coverage?
Exactly. That's exactly what I would become a broker, because if I was working for just one company and providing only one flavor, that's not going to feel at all.
Right.
So now I have the chance to, when you throw me the address, I start looking online and I already know, okay, all these companies are not going to want this paper. This and these and these are my best option, and I just focus on those. Mm-hmm. In the worst case scenario, what's going on is if no carrier wants to take that risk, you still need insurance. You know, the lender wants an insurance policy on that house, and you want to protect your biggest investment, that is your house. So carriers are offering what they call a DIC policy, and DIC stands for different in conditions. What is that? They basically grab the fire peril and take it away from the policy. So they will cover you for water damage, theft, liability, but when regards of fire, they're saying, not me. You get that through the California Fair Plan.
Okay.
The California Fair Plan is a market where they take different risks that nobody wants. It's sponsored by the state of California. There's some carriers that are lined up down there, so they can't deny you coverage. Of course, it's coming at a higher cost. You know, average, you're gonna have a policy that is a DIC policy that you're looking at what, $1,500, and the other policy will be another $2,000. So now your insurance for the year is like $3,500, $4,000 a year just in your insurance for that.
So you were just saying $1,500 for insurance just for the DIC policy, and another $2,000 for fire insurance. What size property are you, or what size house are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about a normal house, like, you know, 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
The more or less that will be kind of like the average, like what I'm seeing, especially when you go on outside San Diego, like on the Fallbrook area, Escondido areas, the house remains about the same square footage. So you have a bigger lot, but the risk is higher, right? So that's what I see that is going on right now. And unfortunately, some people, anything that raise the cost of in that transaction might hinder the approval for the loan. You know, if they were qualifying, just barely qualifying, and they were putting the person that was doing the loan was putting a cost of insurance of $100 a month, that's $1,200. And suddenly you see a $4,000, dude, that's not going to be feasible. So that's the challenge right now that we're facing in the market. The fire hazard is a big one.
Yeah, that's something that I want to mention too. Is I don't know if you've had that kind of come up when someone's looking at buying a house. Do they talk about like, well, how much is my insurance going to cost for?
Of course. Yeah. And I always defer to someone like Jose because, you know, or if it's a legal question, I defer to an attorney, or, you know, if it's a lending question, I defer to the lender because I don't ever want to speak on something that I'm not the expert on. So obviously I'll defer to Jose, for example. But it's almost always a question. And like Jose said, you have to have coverage prior to closing escrow. The lender will not fund the loan. If you're a cash buyer, then yeah, you can buy your house cash and you can not insure it. And if it burns down the next day, well, then you're out.
Yeah.
You know, and I've actually had one or two people not buy insurance before closing. They've got it like a week or two after they've closed cash buyers. As far as the fire thing goes, I've really only had one property. You know, I had people ask. They were actually still able to obtain coverage. It was 40 acres out near Hidden Meadows in Escondido, but it's a total fire zone. I mean, it's brush everywhere. They were still able to get coverage. I just don't know how expensive it was. And I was representing the seller, not the buyer. So I wasn't overly concerned with it. I was like, well, you know, if you want to get it, then you can get it. But definitely a question that comes up. Definitely at, you know, usually 2/3 of the way through escrow, you know, halfway through escrow, we're usually telling the buyers, or the lender's usually telling the buyer, hey, get a hold of Jose because Jose is going to get you set up with your homeowners policy so we can move forward with funding your loan and closing the deal. So yeah, and again, there, you know, I have apps and stuff that I can run on my phone, and I can give people scenarios and a rough number of what your insurance is going to cost a month. So when we quote people, if I'm out showing property, I like to let people know what their PITI is, their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. In other words, their total monthly nut. Because a lot of people just look at principal and interest and they're like, oh, my payment's $2,700. I can afford it. And it's like, whoa, you forgot about taxes and insurance. And they're like, oh, and that can be another $800 a month or whatever it may be. Well, that changes things for them a little bit. So super, super, super important as a buyer. Even if you're not looking yet and you're just in the pre-approval process, call Jose, call your insurance broker, get a quote, and understand how much it's going to be a month for that stuff. Because a lot of people will incorporate that payment into their mortgage payment automatically, so it just goes out and everybody gets paid every month. It's a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
And then what's
you can pay that all in one bill if you tell your lender that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, if you did set up what they call an impound account, right?
And I think, Jose, most buyers do it that way, correct?
Yes, most buyers do. And what you do in chat is so crucial, what you just said. You know, if you throw everything to the buyer up front, they're going to be way more prepared to face that and make a conscious decision about that property. You know, it's like when you look at an ad for a car. Oh, yeah, it's only 25,000, and then in the fine print is like, you know, you got to add taxes and registration and all that. Well, if you only have the 25, when you go there, you're going to face like, oh, shoot, I need more.
I need another $8,000 sometimes, you know. 25 can be 32 or 33, and it's the same principle when people only see a lot of online third-party searches, like, I don't know, maybe Zillow or whoever it may be. They'll say, yeah, your principal and interest is this. So people automatically think that's their payment, and I quickly correct them and say, well, no, you know, there's one thing called taxes, and there's another thing called insurance, and those are a huge part of it that, you know, especially first-time home buyers tend to overlook when they're starting their home search.
Well, that's the reason why they want to work with a professional like you, like me, like Skyler, where, you know, we look at all those details and put them in context, so you have all the info right away to make a decision. But yeah, that's exactly how you need to face it. I've been having a lot of agents, you know, just calling me up and say, hey, my client likes this property, but I don't know about the brush fire. So even without even putting an offer, I'm just running the numbers. You know, my system will tell me, you know, it would take me 15, 20 minutes to kind of figure it out. And I just say, yeah, this is how much it's going to look. And with that, they can make a decision if they put an offer, or maybe even that will help them leverage the cost of the property. Talking to the seller agent and say, hey, look, it's not going to be easy for my client to get insurance. This is, so yes, kind of like, you know, help the negotiation, right? But everybody's coming to an understanding that there is a risk in that property, that is an additional cost to get this insurance in place, and you need to, you know, jump all these loop and hoops to get everything together.
Right.
Got it. Well, you guys, I think that kind of wraps it up for the day. I got a helicopter going right over me, so stand by.
Get a bird. Well,
Maybe
Jose,
I'm under the umbrella. They can't find me right now, so we're good. We're all fine.
Hey, Jose, thanks for joining us today. I think that information was super helpful for people, especially with the market being so hot right now, the interest rates being so low. There's a lot of people in the market, and I'm seeing multiple offers on every freaking house that comes on the market, especially, like I said to Skyler last week, the stuff that people can afford is gone. There's 6 offers, 7 offers within a day or two. We went to see when it was on 3 days. They already had 6 offers, and they already stopped showings by the time we could even get over there. Yeah. So definitely important time for people to look into the bigger picture, like you said, the insurance and everything like that, because I think with the money being so cheap, people are excited to go buy houses right now, and it's happening. So yeah, thank you for hopping on here with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thank you for inviting me. I like to, you know, work with people that are in the same mindset like you guys. Like we're all looking after our clients, the best interest of our clients. Don't jump into just throwing something, but ask the questions, like, you know, so you can get the right product for them. Right. And in your case too, yes, you're right. Market is hot, man. I see agents, and not even in the lower range of properties, in the properties that are $1 million and more, 6, 7, 8 offers for the house. If the house has a pool, man, everybody wants a pool now. Those houses are going like that. So yeah, it is a tough time right now to be a buyer.
It is. Well,
Awesome.
thanks, guys.
Yep.
And Skyler, you got anything else?
I don't think so, but I will say that it is Friday, so I'm just gonna, crack open my little.
Yeah, there's no laws. Hey, there's no laws when you're drinking claws.
My little White Claw here, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of that, and all right, we're good to go. Oh, this fell out.
I'm gonna go have a 394 AleSmith 394 in honor of the San Diego Padres.
There you go. Love it.
First base Padres.
I want to get my beer too. Happy Friday to everyone.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
All right,
Happy
guys. Have a
Friday.
good weekend.
See you guys.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye.